Welcome. This is Sienna Lea from Rise Multiversity and Shadow Synthesis course. And this podcast is a podcast entitled Shadowland Chronicles. As many of you know, I've been doing shadow work for the last 40 years or so. But recently, you may not know, I've been designing this shadow synthesis course, and it's been going now in its current form for roughly 2 years. And I'm here with a dear friend and one of my students, Kajal. Welcome, Kajal. Thank you for jumping on this wild and crazy ride with me. Kajal is in India. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Sienna. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this podcast, which is so necessary for today. What's going on in today's world?
Yes. We'll have more of the students on as we unfold the Shadowland Chronicles. We're going to bring you some cutting-edge research about the nature of the human psyche, the nature of shadow and interference, what's really impacting our psychological selves that most human beings are completely clueless of, and how we can address this, heal this, and no longer be the victims of these insane, evil agendas that have jumped into a lot of our own bodies and our own psyches without our permission and are running the show from behind the scenes while all of the world stage is erupting in some very disturbing scenarios, full of violence, misunderstanding, conflict, war, financial collapse, and pollution and destructivity, globally spinning strangely out of control more and more. So we want to keep this light and heart-based. We want to bring solution because there totally is a solution. We're source-based creatures. We have the capability of transcending all the impositions and the distortions and the trauma that are being placed upon us, but we need to understand what's really going on. So thus, we're going to be bringing on people actually engaged in the work. We've been, as an alternative community, looking at alien interference and implants and all kinds of invisible manipulations for a very long time. And certainly now more than ever, we're understanding the nature of the prison planet that we're on. There are so many young people that are getting the level of criminality of our governments, of our religions, of big pharma, of our food supply, of everything. And it's a really challenging time because to wake up to that much attack on ourselves and be under so much stress to survive in areas that are, some areas, I'm here in Ecuador, and we've got people on the streets burning tires and throwing gasoline on the tires and shutting down the government and shutting down all the transportation. And this is just one place where the corporatocracy is coming in for the kill, creating such austere conditions that the people can't even survive any longer. And I know that a lot of us really do care and really do want to become in charge again of our lives. But many of us are suffering under depression, under anxiety, and worse. People are feeling besieged by their own thoughts. They're besieged by a lot of negative trash talk in their heads, feelings of terrible shame, horrible guilt, patterns of self-punishment, pain and suffering. And what is going on here? The level of human suffering is off the charts. And so what we've been learning as we've been doing our shadow diving and peeling off layers of unconscious programming, piece by piece, is that we are under massive trauma-based mind control, and not just MK Ultras or just people working in agency, but everybody is. And there are layers of denial and lies, and this can't possibly be true, and this isn't happening to me. And it's quite a complex, twisted scenario that eventually turns us against ourselves, so that our energy becomes very dense and toxic and thick. And this is the energy that these non-source beings, we're going to go into who they are, how they got here, how they got into us, and what we can do about them, how these non-source beings are having their way with us. And most of us are just going along with the programming. We have no idea. This all just feels like us, inside of us. And I thought the same thing. I was doing shadow work and working very intensively for many years, and primal therapy and deep tissue body work and energy medicine and shifting frequencies and removing entities. And I would see people going into these early childhood wounds and traumas, because we would go in a kind of non-drug-induced hypnotic state where people would be taken back through different timelines and be experiencing the core places where they made decisions that impacted their lives in terms of negative programming for the rest of their lifetimes. But during these sessions, I noticed that there were other energies coming into these people. I've always been quite psychic. That's increased a lot lately. But I remember at Stepping Stone, this was in the 70s. People were laid out, spread eagle, going through the deep early childhood trauma and wounding, abandonment and betrayal, and all of these things. And then the room would fill with this dark energy, and the person would suddenly go into a trance, and I'd be getting knocked. I said, what is going on here? And I came to understand that there was some sort of an agreement, which we're going to go into in depth and more depth here. We found out working with Laura Lee Mistycah, these forced agreements that we make to actually gain entrance in here. These contracts with parents, with religions, with our ancestors, to never disrupt the control grid, to go along with the agenda and never blow the whistle on how much of a prison this has been, and how much of our energy is being harvested to keep our enslavers able to enslave us, basically. So when I figured out all of this, I'm going, holy, you know what? I mean, this is, so I've been doing a study as I've been also being a teacher. I'm always a student. How do we break these agreements? How do we go in? How is this really operating? And it's really been layer upon layer of lies and deceit, and came across the cryptos. And I'm partnering with one of Rise Multiversity's newest mentors, Laura Lee Mistycah of Mistycah House. And she has written this book called Kryahgenetics, which I highly recommend. It's available on the Rise Multiversity website right now. And I'm going to read out of here, and I haven't given you a minute to say anything, but I'm getting there. Kajal, be patient with me, because I just want to contextualize where I want to go with this as an introduction of how we're addressing shadow work and how we're addressing things that have not been brought up. Okay. So I want to talk about the cryptos, because the cryptos, and this is right from Laura Lee's book, are the number one worst threat on the planet today. And there was, we've been under the control of a hierarchical system. And I've talked a lot about Queen Bitch, and Laura Lee Mistycah identifies her as Drula, which we will be calling henceforth the D-Monster. She's no longer with us. But she really turned this place into hell in a handbasket and has taken over. We're talking about the evilest of evil. This is very hard to fathom. These cryptos are psychopaths, they're sociopaths. We don't, good, decent, kind people, we don't understand how people can even be this way. We're seeing it now in politics. We're seeing the pedophilia rings getting exposed. We're seeing massive crimes on so many fronts. And it's just like, how is this even happening? But this work, shadow synthesis work, is the work of turning it. How is this happening inside of humanity? How do we detach and to release ourselves and disengage and bring back the beautiful, non-corrupted soul essence and start repurposing everything with love because the war has been against us. It's been against love. It's been against the divine. It's specifically been against the feminine in all of us, the gentle, the tender, the compassionate, the sensual, the psychic, the emotional, the flows of energy, the creative expression that come directly from the source of life itself. They needed this energy to keep them alive. They don't have that connection, but they can't take it at a high frequency. They hate love. They hate that energy. To them, it's like kryptonite. So they had to repurpose this whole place so that we are just building Lush. Lush is negative energy, pain, suffering, loss, heartbreak, dissociation, fragmentation, mental dominance, heart shutdown, body armor, ego defensiveness, and all these layers of implants, the chakra implant, the kundalini implant, the AI implants, the astral body. These are all harvesting tools that have been put on us so they can keep taking our energy. And we are been sold a lie that, the world is our oyster. It's been created for us. We get to have a life. We get to have a family. We get to have love. We get to have careers. And good things can happen and we can be wealthy. And so they've created this place of total deception where people are thinking that they can just go forth and have what they want. And we're being completely sucked dry until we see the truth of this. Now, it's very painful to see, and we're programmed to run away from it. We're programmed to run away from that we could be conduits of evil ourselves. We're terrified that the pain that happened at the points of key traumas where we and our ancestors and our parents get tipped into carrying out these agendas unconsciously. There are a lot of innocent people that are delivering systems of horrible, vicious cruelty. And the only way we can perpetuate it is if we're just so unconscious. We're underneath the mind control. We don't see it happening. We don't feel it happening. If you tell people that, well, you have a shadow that's really hurting people, the first thing they'll go is, no, that's not me. I'm under attack. So there's a lot to sort out. And we have found that we really need to be in this inner work community that Kajal and myself are in, because coming out, having to face the level of lies that we have ingested and what we've been a part of, and how terrified we are to go within and find the core of our vulnerable selves that will repurpose and cleanse and heal and restore the whole system so we can create healthy energy, so we can build healthy systems. all of this is in mind controlled to be terrifying to us because of the horrible pain that we suffered at the point where we broke and went over to contracting with the dark side. So we have ways of doing it that are fun and that are gentle and that are kind and that are explorative and that are interesting and that are blowing our minds and are full of wonder and make us full of gratitude because we're engaging in a soul alchemy that's given to us by Source itself and is getting stronger every day. And every solution to all of this is actually within us. And so it's all really good news, but the truth does set us free if we're willing to look at it. So we're trying to take on this like gigantically challenging job of speaking these truths to you. We know we're going to trigger you. We know you may be getting attacked now and you may want to turn this off, and we may be looking weirder by the second, and it just may not feel good to hear us say any of this. And I'm just asking you to persevere, because if you're getting any of that reactivity, that shows that these crypto energies that are in all of us are wanting you to get out of here before I read this to you. So before I read this, Kajal, that was a long-winded introduction. Do you have anything you want to say or add, or a question or an experience or anything? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
About the cryptos,
Not necessarily. You can take this now. You're a student. You've been working, and so you can share anything from your own experience of what I've related to that just feels alive in you now, or you can just wait.
What is alive in me right now, and what came up while you were sharing, is that last year actually you and I did a discussion similar to this, and it's on YouTube. So if someone wants to check that out, we can put the link in the description box for the last year's link as well. And I was just like thinking about how my energy was last year. And I've been doing this work for the last 2 years now. It's the second year I'm doing this work.
So what was the change? If you would just, what changed?
I mean, when I look back to that specific time when we did a similar discussion like this, and that was like 1 year into the work, into shadow work with this community and in this space, and even 1 year into that work, my energy was still kind of dense and kind of heavy, and and now I feel so much more lighter. It's the second year of doing shadow work, and I feel so much more lighter and so much more present. And I mean, I look completely different than last year. Yeah.
Stuff works if you work it. I remember when you first came in that you were full of a lot of psychic attack, if you don't mind me sharing.
Mm-hmm.
The womb area, there was a lot of pain, a lot of like the porn frequency energy related to your sexuality, a lot of insecurity about who you are as a feminine. And you were in a very different space. This stuff is not stuff that we get over in a weekend or a workshop. It's because
it takes a while.
And the space that we've had to learn to create for ourselves and one another when you're dealing with people that are severely traumatized, which we all are. And
I mean, a year back or 2 years back, like you were saying, I was under a lot of psychic attack. And I still am, but I'm so much stronger from within. Like, even as I speak to you right now, I feel like there is interference and things like that, but it has no power over me, or like very little power over me, I could say, if I'm being completely honest. I'm so much more stronger from within, I feel, and stronger in my heart energy also, just not like.
And And that didn't happen overnight either. So I'm going to read about the cryptos now. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm really grateful to be here with you because I trust your integrity and I know you're going to speak your truth, even if I don't like what you're saying. And I'm grateful for that. So I want to read about these cryptos because I guess if you said, Sienna, why are you doing this? Why do you want to be in all this creepy negative shadow energy all the time? It's because there is so much pain and suffering being put into humanity every second. And this level is almost completely invisible. And very little of it is talked about. And when it is talked about, most of us, myself, Kajal included, we're not perfect works of completion. I still have shadow to clear. I'm also getting bombarded right now. They don't want this out. They're trying to make me feel miserable. It's not working, but we haven't finished over the finish line, and we're the ones, bringing you in because we're perfect. That isn't how it goes. We get stronger and stronger, and they start realizing, oh, wow, as we take more of them out, which we do, they don't want to be killed, so they go play somewhere else. But we have to be so firm and so strong. This is a path of self-mastery. We have to understand what's us and what's not us. We need to become impeccable in our own discernment and vigilance on the energy that we are making moment by moment. And we have to face some really painful realities in that way. So it's great to do it with other people that also are willing to do that. And it's also very dangerous to do this around people, like around crypto people. I'm going to read you about, because there are so many gurus and counselors and therapists and healers that are beautiful and they're charismatic and they can even affect healing. They can fly carpets, they can bend spoons, they have psychic capabilities, they dazzle us. There's a part of us that just wants to follow them and be reborn in this beautiful higher frequency and be done with all this horrible, disgusting energy that none of us like being a part of, but we are. So we always are looking for some way to dump it or to get rid of it. And so there's just a ton of light deceivers. Laura Lee calls them the light deceivers, I believe. And they are everywhere, and they're mainly who makes the big bucks, and they're mainly the processes that people run all over the world. They're just absolutely seductive. So I want to read you who these light deceiver gurus are and see if this resonates, because they're in our bodies as well. And until we recognize the disease and get the right diagnosis, there's not going to be a cure. Okay, so I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to get back to you, Kajal, and see what you can share about this. So again, this is from the Kryahgenetics book that had so much psychic attack. It's unbelievable because of the power of the tools that Laura Lee Mistycah is bringing here. But now we've come so far, they've worked so far that a lot of these huge warehouses and things have been taken out. So that's why we can be here today, even talking about it. That's why the attack, even though we're being attacked, is to a level, we've done enough inner work where we can hold this field. Kajal, you and I can do it. We're in a different place than we even were 6 months ago. It's really a great time to do the inner work. So listen up. Crypto profiles. Cryptos are, said it again, I'm going to say it one more time, the number one worst threat on the planet. They are Dula's CIA, Special Forces Team, Her Majesty's Secret Service. And you can learn more on Laura Lee's website at www.firstwaveindigos.com or on Laura Lee Mistycah's mentor page at Rise Multiversity for the history of how all of this happens. The cryptos are encryptions to change, camouflage, corrupt, pervert, mutate, control anything and everything. Also can encrypt using magic to get what they want, to steal power in various forms, and to maintain their control. All cryptos and cryptas fall into the categories of light distractor, alphas, or light destroyers. Chain of command, the bosses, overseers of operations, and they give the orders. Controller A creates new methods of pain, suffering, fear, and corruption. Revise, update, improve old ones. Controller B manages transportation, storage facilities, batteries of pain, suffering, fear, grief, and depression, as well as counterfeit, corrupted highs, group frenzy, orgasms, and corrupted death energies. See, this whole reality is turned into a warehouse to house, to store this kind of horrific energy because it's their food. Check out Stargate Atlantis and the Wraith. It's all right there. Controller C. Headhunters get new recruits and make deals and offers. Reptilians and felines are their top supporters. Some insectoids are on the top of the list too. Converting, controlling humans in their life is their lifeblood. Their trademark is lying, schmoozing, power plays, and extreme arrogance. Looking good is paramount to them and their agenda. They are very narcissistic. They love being in the limelight and being seen. Many cryptos are archons, the top global leaders, decision makers, corporate heads, and mega millionaire billionaires. Cryptos are also leaders in the spiritual communities. They can mimic benevolent personality traits and even soul signatures of beings you loved and respected in the past. This is a major hook they use to captivate and to capture you. They use spirituality and or humanitarian service as a front and also a hook. There is something unnatural about them, sometimes bionic. They hook and mesmerize people, literally spellbinding them, and it is extremely hard to break. They are very sexual and use their energy to seduce people into giving away their sexual energy and their power to them. 90% of the time, this is done in the guise of spirituality. One major agenda thrill is to overshadow benevolent, powerful people that are here to authentically help the planet. These people are the real threats to the cryptos. And that's a really important point because most people that I'm working with that are listening now, that are called to this work and to the joint venture that Laura Lee and I are doing for this work together, are in fact wow, that thought just went totally out of my head. They're indigos, and they're from home, and they're out from outside of the matrix, and they're real, source-based, sentient, love-based beings that are used because if you're one of those, if you're an indigo, you have superpowers, you have all the keys, all the tools, all the skills, abilities, and potentials to turn this around. And so you've been highly targeted. They've taken a lot of those superpowers and listed them in MK Ultra and other mind control programs. They take you at night in your dream state. They harvest your energy in invisible realms and are using your creative potential to build nests, to create more cryptos, we are the generators, the creative womb for all of this. Without us, it can't happen. Without us, they can't do any of this. And that's really the great news. You got something to say here? I kind of felt you may have something right there, Kajal. You got anything to say about the sexual piece and the seduction piece and the Kundalini piece? Because I know that you had suffered from, because what's happened here is all of the authentic energy gets reversed. Like, let's say a positive spin is a healthy, natural, positive energy. Negative spin is the Christ, the Antichrist. It takes your great energy and it turns it into a dark energy that serves them, right?
Uh,
You've been
yeah.
finding this with yourself, right, in your history of as you started to try to embody the feminine, I think.
Mm-hmm.
How hard that
Yeah.
was for you, how terrified you were, because, well, as we know, in many places in the world, and certainly India has been very patriarchal. And I mean, women have had to kill themselves when their husbands died in sati practices because they were absolutely useless without a man. And I mean, the suppression and the abuse of the feminine has, I don't mean way, way, way back. I think there's been incredible divine feminine seeding in India. India is such an amazing place, but so much harvesting of that beautiful divine energy that is organic to your
Mm-hmm.
country. And I know this has been a very deep part of your exploration too.
I want to add something about the crypto piece, like how the crypto energy works through people around you. Like if you're like they'll send people to you and suddenly like people who are especially unaware, and then they'll send people to you. Like recently I had an encounter with a man who was sent to me, and suddenly like I felt like a crypto was working through, like the crypto energy was working through him to get to me, like even in a sexual way. And like I saw it for what it was, like early on, and I distanced myself from the guy. So like it's quite a tricky energy also, the crypto energy.
It's really tricky because,
And
first,
very they try to get you in the try to get you through, like they try to get me through my insecurities. And like, so like my blind spots and my insecurities and things like that.
exactly, they create an unstable psychological structure that they can then coerce into serving their agenda. And we have no idea it's going on. Yeah. And this, the sexual piece, I mean, they've taken everything, they've corrupted everything. Our sexuality has been this porn vibe, the feeders, the cryptos, the dracos, the reptiles, the nordics, the greys, the mantis, the insectoids. There are many. They're all in it together, and they had to create societal architecture or structure that we had to buy into at threat of torture in
Mm-hmm.
order to and in order to do that, we couldn't show up with any of our authentic energy in order
Mm-hmm.
to stay alive. So that energy got fractured and put into the unconscious where it can be harvested. The other thing that happened is that when the D monster took over, she brought in a lot of the indigos and a lot of the advanced spiritual souls, and she fractured them and just blew them through this whole omniverse. And this is one of her big fun things. So the whole myth of searching for the body of Osiris, or even Humpty Dumpty, being torn apart and having to search the world to bring back parts of ourselves, which is a very popular notion in shamanic work and soul retrieval work. This is very real. It's one of the big tools they have to keep us slaves, because we need to be able to center, to focus, and to hold ourselves in a place where we choose what we feel, we choose what we create, we choose our reality. But we completely cannot do that when we're soul fractured, especially the heart charge. They're all over the universe. If you can't create a coherent, if there's not enough energetic charge to create coherency and focus, you can't operate as a heart. You can't bring emotional heart intelligence to fix relationships, to fix the environment, to fix all of these problems are fixed through an enlightened, higher vibrational, higher self-embodied consciousness. Well, that higher self can't anchor and embody in a war zone, a disaster field that's full of these horrible energies and implants and worms and snakes and spiders and just these disgusting energies that are, feeding our mind, trash talking, preying off of our vulnerabilities, preying off of our insecurities, preying off of all of the hurt and trauma that they've engineered through all these social structures. I mean, they have just arrogantly had their way. They've been doing this for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
They've been getting away with it for a long time. We our timelines have been so manipulated. History has been so, I shouldn't say thousands of years. It's really hard to talk about time because it's at the center of the entire manipulation. But those are things that are key to how this is all being engineered. They've got on timelines of hell and servitude. And we need to bring back our energy enough to be strong enough to tell them to screw off. And then, no, we're not taking that in. We need to have done an in-depth psychological analysis of our own egoic structure, all the overlays of all the past lives, all the subpersonalities, the ancestral. We need to understand the territory and which part puts us in their ballpark and which part liberates us and returns us into our sovereign core. We need to feel that all the way through our bodies. We need to know that so deeply that when Kajal says, oh, they're here now, they're jumping, they're doing this, she's not just making this up. She's worked for 2 years to have the awareness to know that that's not her and to gain the strength to not be taken over by them. Have I said that? Have I misrepresented you in any way there? I don't want to speak on your behalf, but yeah?
No, that was rightly said. It's like, okay, that's not me. Like, that's not love, basically. That voice that is talking to me, that's not love, and that's not me. And or this is or also, okay, some of it might be my own shadow sometimes, my own shadow voice. It's not necessary that sometimes it's an entity also. So
they jump into your voice. They have repeaters, they have amplifiers. Yeah, we end up doing it. It's our voice. They trauma-based mind control. So we have all of these patternings and all of these insecurities and all of these voices, and then they amplify it. And it just...
Yeah, the amplifying piece is a big one.
Yeah, they amplify it.
Is a big one. Yeah, like they make it seem like it's got to get sorted right now, and they amplify it so much.
It feels unstoppable. And this is a huge point, and I'm really glad you're saying that, because when it happens, it so just feels like me. It feels like me. I'm that angry. I'm that hurt. I just want to hurt you. You got whatever it is. I feel so justified in that feeling. These are my feelings. I want to have my feeling. It's like, wait a minute, those are your feelings being manipulated. And you've gotten so triggered and you have so much frustration and you have so not expressed or resolved this whole thing that just got triggered that you're out of control. They're triggering this gigantic, it's like triggering a bomb that's been building up, a pressure cooker, and then they're turning it on full and you're exploding. And, I could say, oh, that's really just a crypto. And you're going to go, screw you. this is me, and I have absolutely the right to feel this way. In my life, this has happened, and this has happened, and how dare you tell me what I'm feeling, and how dare you tell me blah, 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 blah. And now we're all about to kill each other, and we're all we are being engineered invisibly to just be food. The war, all this negativity, the anger, the frustration, the hatred, the hurt, the woundedness, this is all just super yummy gourmet chocolate bonbons for the cryptos.
I mean, when I just started doing this work, there was constantly a voice telling me in my mind that, like, if I made a small mistake, or even if I didn't sometimes, like, there was constantly a voice telling me that I'm a bad person and like I deserve to be punished. And a part of it has to do with like my childhood trauma and my parents being harsh with me. But this voice kept telling me that I'm a bad person and I deserve to be punished and that I deserve to feel bad about myself. And the more I've processed my guilt and my shame and felt genuine remorse for some of my actions, and the more I've released my energy, like I've cleaned my energy from within my body. I feel like that now sometimes when that voice comes up, that it doesn't have any power over me. I don't feel bad about myself and I don't need to even fight that voice. I can just be like, okay, that's not me and it does not have any power over me. And in a moment, it's just gone. Well, while previously it was like it used to have power over me for at least a day until I got myself back up and,
Yeah. And at first, when you tell them to screw you losers, which is code, because what we do, we're working a lot with Laura Lee's Almorazite and Laura rocks, because these things have intelligence from outside the control grid. And so they give us protection, and they help us fight these things. These things are just
Mm-hmm.
so powerful. So we work with practices where we put protective eggs around that are co-created with the rocks. And I know a lot of people get pissed. Oh, we don't need rocks and those space rocks. And I talk directly to Gaia, and I don't need those crazy rocks. And so a lot of the cryptos that are embedded in us they really hate these rocks. That's partly why her book, Kryahgenetics, didn't go any. These rocks are so powerful to help us move the loosh out and decharge from the programming so we can get back to the center and bring in who we really are from outside of this matrix. Huge magical power tools. Cryptos hate these rocks. Don't you, cryptos? You hate these rocks. We love these rocks. These rocks are so beautiful.
They feel
And
really nice. I feel like a heart connection to the rocks.
I know. I mean, I've lost some students over the rocks. I've gotten rock phobic. I'm getting a lot of backlash about bringing Laura Lee on with her crazy rocks and her weird shit. And who the heck am I to think that, this woo-woo crazy stuff, and it had nothing to do with any of this. And not true. We have got to build the strength to get out from under their control, or they will do what they want to do, which is take over the controls of the planet, lock us down, activate the space fence, activate 5G, do all of this invisible targeting of us, and absorb us into the hive, have us as endless energy sources, and they're pretty damn close to. We are not home free. There are many of us awakening. Last time I heard, we're at 60-40. And a few months ago, it was like 52. So, we need so many more of us to wake up and call BS on this and find the tools and the ways, as you're doing, Kajal, to just go, no, you're not going to jump into me and take over my psyche anymore. And how we heal and really embody our truth, embody our expression. And we, it's not, there's no gray zone. We have to really come forward and be that source connection, that love connection, embodied in action, in presence, or that space will be filled by these assholes. It is filled by them. It will continue to be filled by them. We can't just sit off on the sidelines in denial and resistance, because we are not on the sidelines. We are then players, and we are then food. I'm going to read this other thing. Did you want to say anything there? I wanted to talk about a little bit more about how they operate. So
I think I'd say something after that.
Okay. So besides getting, and this is from Laura Lee Mistycah's and Hal's book, Kryahgenetics, available on risemultiversity.org website as a download. I super recommend this. This is a self-help book with tools where you can just get right in here and start getting rid of this stuff. So besides getting high off of pain and suffering energies, they're also necromancers and get a high off of being around death. They feed off of it and then send some back to the home office. Many work in hospitals, especially ER units, and even work or volunteer in places like senior homes or hospice units, so they can be present when people die. Death energy is like a drug. They can't get enough of it. On the outside, they appear to be the pillars of the community for their noble work and compassionate service. It's all a disguise and keeps them looking good and ensures their longevity. When cryptos physically attack, invade you, at least that is what I experience, Laura Lee says, it comes in seconds and in waves. You feel wheezy all over, strange tingles, extremely nauseated, which can literally bring you to your knees. Accompanying this is encrypted memories of real incidents in your history or dreams that slam into each other and then start to bleed or merge, making it extremely difficult to tell them apart. So suddenly you're all back in your past and your memories and you're feeling all that. Then it twists benign and even pleasant memories into eerie, scary ones that are attached to off-the-charts, creepy, disturbing emotions and hold you there. They can thrust you into different realities and timelines, or have them subtly bleed together in an attempt to make you lose your self-awareness, your stability, and your mind. These waves can last for hours or even days and takes extreme focus to handle and reverse. They can also mimic any other kind of painful physical attack and can virtually backstab. Recently, I have experienced hive-like rashes, first on my legs and then expands to my arms. It itched to the bone and messed with my head. It felt like it was literally driving me nuts. Taking vitamins and herbs and homeopathics gives some relief, but identifying the source, standing up to them and overriding their assaults is mandatory for the symptoms to completely go away. And that is the whole point right there.
The biggest lesson has been in the crypto attack especially, or mainly in the crypto attack, I would say, is to really learn to stand my ground and stand up for myself and say that no, I will not allow you to invade my space. This is my space. And when I fall back on that, and when I lag behind on really being present to myself and for myself, that's when they catch me in my blind spots and when I'm not really looking. And so the lesson has been to really stand up and say no.
That's
to
right.
the cryptos.
And when you're in the middle of it, and you think it's all you, and you're triggered, and you feel completely justified, and your ego's rooting, and your inner baby wants you to have a tantrum because it never got to have tantrums. Or there are all these subpersonality soul fragments, never got their day in the sun, never got to be heard, never got to express the pain, the angst, the violation, the not being seen, the not being cared for. So all this builds an charge. And then synchronistic
Interesting. Yeah.
situations are engineered to trigger you so that all that energy can be harvested. And then it happens again and again and again. And it's actually quite fascinating when you start unwinding this, and you can catch it before you're way off into trigger land and reactivity land, and you stop it and you get rid of them. And Laura Lee and myself, in our courses and our private sessions that you can find on the Rise, multiversity.org, and Shadow Synthesis site, and First Wave Indigo site, you working intensively daily to identify and then stop these attacks and embody who you really are. And it does work. But at first, poof, it feels like I am so under this. It's like being ill, taken ill. You just like, and then you find out it can change on a dime, that you can move these things out by calling them out, and we'll give you techniques to take them out. You're not just getting them out of you. You're retrieving the data. You're taking everything that's innocent and pure, because sometimes middle management gets caught in the implementation of this, and some of these huge warehouses this is huge, big business. The implant manufacturing, the chip manufacturing, the AI bots, these are all little etheric digital creatures that are taking over our operating system constantly. And once we see it, we can just not only get rid of it, but return to sender, give them some of their own medicine. Once you start taking them out, getting them sick, they're like, whoa, because they've gotten away with this for years. They're so arrogant. They don't think you're ever going to stop. And we are so disempowered. We don't think we can just tell them to stop. And then we tell them to stop, and they go away. And we're like, ugh. It's almost like we don't want to believe we're that powerful. Have you experienced anything like that, Kajal? It's like you see how powerful you are, and then you want to run out the door and just be a little girl and pretend you don't have that power, because with that power comes a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, every moment to moment responsibility, right? That's the hardest.
Well, it is, because we don't want to be that responsible. And most of the people that are way down the alien interference rabbit hole are unconsciously reinforcing this victim mentality, which is the worst thing we could possibly do. Why do you think we have so many YouTubes and videos talking about reptiles, talking about alien abductions, talking about MK Ultra? Why do you think they're letting all of this out? To terrify us. Look how powerful they are. They control this domain. And all the forced agreements we made to get in here. I will not rustle the feathers of the control grid, and if I do, I will be punished or hurt and tortured. And we have hundreds of these agreements, and we know it. And we're just like trying to go below the radar, just trying to get a life out of this joint, But if you go, I can't do that anymore, I have to speak my truth, yeah, you're going to be attacked. So we either got to go all the way to get stronger than all their attack, or we got to go just run and hide. Now, I know a lot of people think I'm crazy for getting on a podcast like this and talk about this. And in a million years, they're not going to show up on something like this. But everybody's got to go with their own conscience. I believe this is why I actually incarnated here, to do this. And that each one of us has a piece of this to call out and to heal. And it's not going anywhere until we do. And they so don't think we're going to do it. They're so shocked. They are so
And,
shocked when they see us showing up, blowing up their warehouses and their laboratories and these gigantic facilities and these spirit traps where hundreds and thousands and millions of souls are in harvest traps after they die or when they're sick. And they're just
I
being
mean
fed off.
that
What do you
that has been the general programming of humanity, like through religion, where we're programmed to always worship something outside of ourselves and look for a savior outside of ourselves, and with the government as well. It's always been some something outside of ourselves, and it's always that okay, we are not powerful enough or intelligent enough to really do it ourselves. We always need something external. But this whole being attacked and falling down spiritually is also to remember, like there's a lesson in it. It's to remember that no, we are that powerful, and we are going to stop looking for saviors outside of ourselves and looking for someone to come and save us or worship something outside of ourselves. Like we are actually that powerful. Like you were saying about the whole crypto attack, and so.
And so that's why we're rebooting Rise Multiversity and the Shadow Synthesis course. And Chris Keller will be coming on. Laura Lee Mistycah will be coming on. These are people that are moving huge energies, helping you. These are all self-help tools. No one does anything to you. We do help and support, but radical self-responsibility is the name of the game, getting you to really be able to stand in your power. And creating a container, a supportive community where you're not all alone trying to do it. This is not an easy task. We all do it all alone. Yes, we do. Everyone has to do it all alone. But we can do it side by side, not in a codependent way, but where we empower each other. And when we gather in our shadow synthesis is every other Sunday, and we have these sessions, and we do a lot of hot seat work and process work, and the group energy helps break through. It's all momentums of energy. You get enough authentic, embodied, hardcore essence vibing in a field, and it's got power to move this stuff out. And then we have pairings, and we have forums, and we have our membership area, so that you're going through things, you're starting to peel this back, you're starting to see the depth of it. It's hard to take. You can go on the Discord forum and you go, well, I just did this feeling state, this is what came up for me, and other people are going to go, whoa. That part's been really, really exciting and really fun. The community aspect of this has done so much more than just going for a psychic reading, or having somebody like me move all the stuff out, and then, you go out for dinner, get triggered, it all comes back into your body, and you're back to square one. There's no external fix. It's time for us to become the masters of our energy, and where we want to take it as infinite beings. But we have a lot of healing and a lot of soul restoration to do, ongoing, on a daily basis, for that to really gain the kind of traction we need. Yeah. Well, I think maybe we should round this one up. We've gone about an hour. We're going to be here. We're going to come back. We're going to bring other students on. We're going to show different facets of it. Maybe we'll do some live stuff, live Q&A where you can come on and share what you've been going through. So stay tuned and have a look at the websites. All the links will be on the final frame as we end here. And we just really want to hold this loving space for you, and want to open the conversation for you, want to make it not so scary, that the level of confusion. And I know that a lot of the people that we will really be working with feel pretty darn hopeless, terrified to be in a community where you show the level of depth of your insecurities and your pain and your evil and So we've changed it where you can start in private sessions until you build up enough trust that you can engage in this community. So just go check it out. If you have any questions, contact us. There's all that information on the website. Is there anything more we need to say today? I wanted to paint the bigger picture. There's so much to this. There really, really is. It's a huge education. The students are coming. A lot of them are going to go on to doing their own pieces and parts of this work. And the ongoing educational platform of Rise Multiversity is going to be a launching place, a marketplace, place to show what you want to share, a research place, a place to talk, a place to have fun, a place to have live music, whatever we need to do to get stronger and to have more fun and to get in a lighter frequency and to ride out the incredibly disgusting, pornographic, pure off-the-charts evil that is exploding everywhere. So if this kind of supportive environment that takes this kind of in-depth look at shadow and interference resonates, get in touch. Much love to you.